Good morning, one and all. If you are watching this live, good day, good evening, good night for those of you who are watching this recorded. Welcome on this wintry morning. We say here in this church and in congregations around the United Church of Christ that no matter who you are or where you are on life's journey, you are welcome here. So too, you are welcome no matter from where you're watching this, no matter how, you are welcome here. Welcome to this community that knows some measure of God's grace and love and seeks to share both with the world. This morning, a quick note, we are celebrating communion. And so if you don't yet have your bread and your fruit of the vine handy, I invite you to make sure that you do, so that we can share communion across the miles with one another and with Christians across the world and throughout time. This morning in the sanctuary, I am lucky enough to be joined by several people. Olivia Stelflug and Talon Booz are at the helm of our live streaming controls. Joe Wiedemeyer is serving as mentor, guide, troubleshooter for our media interns, Olivia and Talon. Joanne Peterson, as you just heard, is at the piano, and by recording, she is also our choir director. Also recorded this morning, we will hear from Mike Ford, Doug Board Pire, and the massed choir providing choral music. Will Ruby lighting the peace candle. Cameron Hoskins serving as reader. And what a joy it is to be joined by so many for our worship service this morning. As usual, some announcements. Next Sunday, we are hoping that you will give us pictures of the beauty of winter. Winter's definitely here, so there's some opportunities out there if you bundle up. These pictures can be a reminder that cold and ice and snow can reflect the glory and the beauty of God. If you can take those pictures, send them to Joe Wiedemeyer, or if you don't have his address, send them to the office at fcc.oshkosh.org. We haven't been able to have our virtual coffee hour quite so regularly the last month because we were doing other things. Last week was our annual meeting. Today, coffee hour resumes in earnest. If you are not yet on our email list, and I hope you would like to be, let us know. Again, send an email to office@FCC.Oshkosh. We will put you on our emailing list, which means you will receive the link on Sunday morning to join the virtual coffee hour, and also just get a lot of news and updates on what's going on at FCC Oshkosh. Wednesday of next week, February 17th, is Ash Wednesday. We will begin the season of Lent. And we'll live stream an Ash Wednesday service from here in the sanctuary on the 17th at 6:30 in the evening. And look for details about that service in the upcoming member bridges, our more than once a week email newsletter. Let's see, more announcements. So yes, Ash Wednesday begins the season of Lent. This season is an invitation into reflection, into an honest and loving look at ourselves, and an invitation into greater openness to the God we encounter in Jesus Christ. And so in Lent, there are at least, we may find some other opportunities too, but there are 2 opportunities to step into this season of reflection and openness. On Tuesday evening, starting February 23rd at 6:30, we'll begin our 40-day journey with Madeleine L'Engle. L'Engle was a mystic, an author, novelist. She wrote A Wrinkle in Time, among many other things. And also then the next day, Wednesday, February 24th, we will begin a different kind of journey with the New Testament scholar Amy Jill Levine. We will be using her book, Entering the Passion of Jesus. It is a rich, rich invitation into following Jesus and discovering what that can mean in our lives and in the world. If you were here, I would ask if there are other announcements that I have left off. And somehow this morning I had a feeling there's something out there that I'm not remembering. Perhaps if you have an announcement, you can put it in the chat section, the comment section. But now I've run out of announcements, and so let us all breathe in deeply. And as we breathe in deeply, take in the grace and the peace and the healing love of God. And as we let that breath out, send all those blessings and more into God's beloved world. As is our custom here, we will begin our time of worship with the singing bowl and its invitation to ground ourselves and open ourselves to the Spirit of the living God. Now we will hear from Mike Ford, Stand By Me.
Storms of life are raging, stand by me. When the storms of life are raging, stand by me. When the world is tossing me like a ship upon the sea, thou who rulest wind and water, stand by me. In the midst of tribulation, stand by me. Well, in the midst of tribulation, stand by me. When the hosts of hell assail and my strength begins to fail, thou who never lost a battle, stand by me. In the midst of fault and failure, stand by me. In the midst of faults and failure, stand by me. When I do the best I can and my friends misunderstand, thou will know it's all about me, stand by me. When I'm growing old and feeble, stand by me. When I'm growing old and feeble, stand by me. When my life becomes a burden and I'm nearing chilly Jordan, oh, thou lily of the valley, please stand by me.
Thank you, Mike. So, as I've said before, I hope you have your own peace candles at home so that we can join Will Ruby as he lights the peace candle.
With prayers for peace in our hearts and peace and healing in our world, we light this candle.
I invite you once again to imagine you're here, gathered around in a variety of ways for our time of exploring a bit of the walk with Jesus, with the youth in our congregation and the children in our own hearts. So in a few moments, we're going to hear a short reading from the Gospel of Mark. Let me tell you a couple of things about the Gospel of Mark. It's a short gospel. It's the shortest one. There is a general sense among folks who study these things that Mark, of the four Gospels in the New Testament, Mark is the oldest, the first that was written down and kept and preserved. So that's just a couple of interesting things about the Gospel, but what I want to talk about more is what Jesus is like in that Gospel. It's almost as if Jesus is an action figure, like a hero in a comic book or a graphic novel. He is always doing things immediately. In Greek, the word is evthys, and he was going here immediately, and he was going there, and then he was going up here too. He was healing, he was preaching, he was feeding, he was casting out demons, he was doing things all the time. Like he's this just amazing, I don't know, superhero. Always on the move. And the way the Gospel of Mark talks about him, it's just, he never sits still. He's just always going, except when he's not. And we'll hear at the end of this morning's reading that he went off to a deserted place, a desert, a wilderness, to pray. Now, how do those two things go together? Is he like the guy who's just always moving and always doing stuff? Or is he the one who goes into the wilderness to pray? That's it. He's both. The only way he can do all those things, just like never stop, go, 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 is that he stops. And he goes and tries to find a deserted place. Where he can be quiet, where he can be alone, where he can open his heart and his mind in prayer to the one who has called him into life, who has called him into ministry, who has called him my beloved. And there is something about the time in which we live that we seem to be so vulnerable to thinking that what we have to do is to be doing all the time. Staying busy, taking care of things, accomplishing things, doing. And there's nothing wrong with doing the work of God. There's nothing wrong with actively sharing kindness and compassion and love and beauty. And the only way we can do that genuinely, fully, is if we make sure we find the quiet place, the quiet time to open our hearts and our minds and our very souls to the God who made us and loves us and seeks to bring healing to us. I've found this important practice, this important thing to do a little bit harder in a pandemic. I like to go to a monastery so I can be alone in community and pray. And that's not been possible. And So maybe it has been a little harder for you. And for those of us who like to go outside and do this, right now is a little tough time. It's still doable, but you got to be really careful. But I have a friend who takes very seriously the notion of going into her closet to pray. Because she knows it's that important. So I invite all of us to look in our apartments, our homes. If we're old enough to be driving, think about our cars. Is there a place where you can be and be quiet and open up to be in communion, in the presence, in the loving arms of God? That's how we can be people through whom God loves the world, because we've made time and space to receive that love. We can't share it if we don't have it. Would you join me in prayer? Gracious God of peace, loving God of active healing, we give thanks that you call us both into active ministry, active ways of loving and serving you by loving your world. And we give thanks that you call us to rest and pray and be open to you, so that we have your gifts to share with the world. In your name we pray. Amen. Now, thanks to Cameron, we will hear not only this short story from the Gospel of Mark, but a reading from the prophet Isaiah as well.
Isaiah chapter 40, verses 21 through 31. Have you not known? Have you not heard? Has it not been told you from the beginning? Have you not understood from the foundations of the earth? It is God who sits above the circle of the earth, and its inhabitants are like grasshoppers, who stretches out the heavens like a curtain, and spreads them like a tent to live in, who brings princes to naught, and makes the rulers of the earth as nothing. Scarcely are they planted, scarcely sown, scarcely has their stem taken root in the earth, when the Lord blows upon them, and they wither, and the tempest carries them off like stubble. To whom then will you compare me, or who is my equal? Says the Holy One. Lift up your eyes on high and see, who created these, the one who brings out the host and numbers them, calling them all by name, because the Lord is great in strength, mighty in power, not one is missing. Why do you say, O Jacob, and speak, O Israel? My way is hidden from the Lord. My way is right, disregarded by my God. Have you not known? Have you not heard? The Lord is the everlasting God, the creator of the ends of the earth. The Lord does not faint or grow weary. God's understanding is unsearchable. The Lord gives power to the faint and strengthens the powerless. Even youths will grow and be weary, and the young will fall exhausted. But those who will wait for the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. Mark chapter 1, verses 29 through 35. As soon as they left the synagogue, they entered the house of Simon and Andrew with James and John. Now Simon's mother-in-law was in bed with a fever, and they told him about her at once. Jesus came and took her hand and lifted her up. Then the fever left her. She began to serve them. That evening at sundown, they brought to him all who were sick or possessed with demons, and the whole city was gathered around the door. And Jesus cured many who were sick with various diseases, and cast out many demons, who he would not permit to the demons to speak, because they knew him. In the morning, while it was still very dark, he got up and went out to a deserted place, and there he prayed.
Thank you, Cameron. It seems a little unfair that on Scout Sunday, when it's an opportunity for Cameron to serve as reader, the first reading is quite long. But you did well, Cameron. Thank you so much. The prophet Isaiah declares to us, speaking on behalf of the Holy One, even youths will faint and be weary, and the young will fall exhausted. But those who wait for the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. Those who wait for the Lord shall run and not be weary. Well, I don't know. I don't know about you, but almost 11 months into being separated, 11 months into this pandemic, there are moments, I have moments of weariness. But I'm not going to suggest to you, and I don't think Isaiah is suggesting either, that means it is a sign that we have been unfaithful if we are weary. Because in the words that we heard this morning, it is those who wait for the Lord shall renew their strength, as in we use up our strength, and we need it to be renewed. We are finite creatures. Isaiah is trying to invite us into knowing, grounding our lives, that in our finiteness we do not reflect God in that sense. But the Holy One is the creator of all. That there is always blessing, there is always a renewal to be found in waiting and opening to the Holy One. Even youths will faint and be weary, but those who wait for the Lord, those who turn to that which is, the one who is greater than we will find our strength will be renewed. Maybe not as fast as we would like it to be. Maybe not in the ways we would like it to be. But this is the promise that no matter what comes, whether it is illness or pandemic or political chaos, despair, loneliness, the Holy One is with us and seeks to bring us strength. We catch a glimpse of this dynamic in the reading from the Gospel of Mark. As I said in the children's time, Jesus is on the move throughout Mark, and here he is. This is the same day. It's still the same day that he was in the synagogue casting out, muzzling the demons in a man there. And now he's gone from the public place to a private place, the house of Simon and Andrew, and apparently Simon's wife and Simon's mother-in-law. And we don't know anything about his mother-in-law. We don't even have her name. But she is in bed with a fever. Her strength has left her. Whatever the circumstances, she is in need. And Jesus comes to her, takes her hand, and lifts her up. That lifting up, it's the same word used in Mark for Jesus' resurrection. There's a theme here. The Holy One, the power of God comes and lifts up not only this woman, but Jesus. Then the fever left her and she began to serve them. As some of you know, I came to ministry later in life. I came to ministry after leaving the church and thinking the church would never want me anyway. And so to come back in my 40s, and come across a reading like this was quite disturbing, because one of the reasons I thought I needed to stay away from the church was not only its attitude toward LGBTQ people, but its attitudes towards women and what our proper role is. And so here we have Jesus heals this woman, and apparently it's for the purpose of waiting on the guys. But that's a mistake for me to look at it in that tiny a frame. Look at the whole of the Gospel of Mark and all the Gospels. Jesus insists that he, as the beloved, the Messiah, the anointed one of God, comes to serve. That's what he's here for. And so what does this woman do? She follows Jesus in the way of service. She actually becomes, in a very real sense, the first deacon. In Greek, the word to serve is I was practicing it earlier, diakoneo, the word from which we get deacon. Throughout the rest of the Gospels, the disciples don't get it. They're jostling each other. They want to know from Jesus who's going to be the first, who's going to be the greatest, who's going to be sitting at his right hand. And Jesus keeps having to tell them, no. The Son of Man came to serve. The Son of Man will be crucified. God's anointed is in our midst to serve, not to toot his own horn. And so this unnamed woman follows in the footsteps of Jesus in a way the disciples don't until after Easter. But she, when we first meet her, had run out of steam. She needed strength. And the beauty of this simple story is that there is nothing here that says, oh, Jesus, come and heal my mother-in-law. There's nothing here that says she reached out and said, help. No. The very presence of God in Jesus knows she is ill, reaches out to her, and renews her strength. As I said at children's time, how is he able to do that? He makes sure that he spends time in prayer, open to the very presence of God. We are soon to begin the season of Lent. As I said in our announcement time, it's a season for going deeper. It is, I invite you to consider, a season for going into a time of prayer. So that is why I'm inviting you to consider one or both of the Lenten offerings. With the 40-day journey with Madeleine L'Engle, we're invited into a daily prayer practice with someone who is a theologian, a writer, and was a mystic. Someone who tries to find the words to describe the glimpses of union with God she has had. There's that way into the season of Lent. Daily prayer discipline with a companion who has been on the road for many years. And also an invitation into sharing that journey with others in this church. And the other possibility, both and, either or, is to join with others in this church with a journey with Amy Jill Levine that takes us into the heart of the story of Jesus' last week. It too can be something that gives you a daily prayer practice, and it is focused on our sacred stories. One or the other or both perhaps will give you a chance, in a sense, to join Jesus in that deserted place, in prayer, in renewal, in blessing. May it be so. Amen. This is the time in our service that we set aside for more focused prayer, more intentional prayer. So I invite you to take another deep breath, to listen to the whisper of the Spirit in your own hearts, to hear the prayers that you need to offer for yourself and for the world. If you'd like, I invite you to share them with others online as we move into our time of prayer. Loving God, holy mystery, we live in a culture that urges us to do and to buy and to achieve and to prove our worth. But you speak a voice counter to that and invite us to know that our worth lies in being yours. We are beloved and precious in your sight, as is all of the world. And so we pray on this day that we may all come to know the gentle power of your claim on our lives, the insistence of your call to serve, not out of our emptiness, but out of the fullness that we find when we open ourselves to you. Loving one, we pray this morning for those who do not have a warm, safe home. Guide us and all people to care for one another, so no one is in this cold without a place to warm up. And Holy One, we continue to pray for those who are ill, whether it be from COVID-19 or cancer or illnesses of the spirit and the mind. We are all in need of your healing power, whether we are aware of it or not. Help us receive your gifts Help us share them with one another. And we do, O God, give thanks for the beauty and glory of this earth in all its seasons. We ask that you guide us in the ways of Jesus, who was indeed a man of healing and action, but who drew his strength, his courage from you. Help us follow him in the ways of healing, peace, and justice. We offer the prayer that he taught his disciples so long ago as we say these words: Our Creator, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever. Amen. Beloveds, we are blessed beyond our knowing, even when we feel beaten down, weary, alone. God comes to us as Jesus came to Simon's mother-in-law and offers a loving hand. And so in response, in gratitude, we too are invited to reach out with our care, our prayers, our financial resources, to live and be generous with all of who we are. So I invite you to continue to support the ministries of love and care in this church and in the world. And let us join Doug Pire in the doxology.
Praise God from whom all blessings flow. Praise God, all creatures here below. Praise God above, ye heavenly host. Creator, Christ, and Holy Ghost. Amen.
Amen and amen. Let us gather as we can across the miles and be in prayer again with one another. Holy God, in the beginning was darkness, mystery, and you. By your own word, you shattered the darkness with light. You set in the sky radiant beams of sunlight and punctuated the night sky with sparkling jewels. You forever changed our darkness. Though there are shadows and worries, you have placed your word in us to be a lamp for our feet. You have given your spirit like a bright guiding star. You fill us with your love as glorious as the sun. And you place your truth like a crescent moon. Every darkness is overcome with light, and every light contains shafts of your eternal light. For all your gifts, seen and unseen, and especially for your gift of Jesus, we give you thanks and praise. I think it was in the first year I was here. After several morning worship services, a small group of people, different each week, gathered to talk about their experience of the worship service, our worship time together, what it was like for them as we moved through the liturgy of the morning. And one of the questions for those discussions is, what was your experience of communion? And this being the first congregational church of Oshkosh, independent of mind, there were so many different answers. Some of those groups, some members of those groups, experienced the encounter with the risen eternal Christ in this meal. Others simply considered it a time of sharing, a time of renewal of our communal ties. But what one person shared has stayed with me so clearly. That person talked about watching members and friends of this church come forward and receive the bread and the cup. And that person talked about loving and blessing each one of those people. And so as we continue to celebrate communion physically separated, I invite all of us to see in our hearts and our minds the people of this church, past and present, people around the world, people across time who have gathered at the communion table and encountered love incarnate in one way or another. Let us join in this holy meal, this communion. On the night that he was betrayed, Jesus gathered his disciples, the men and the women who had followed him as he had taught and preached and healed and prayed. He gathered with his friends and he took bread, and having blessed it, he broke it and he said, "Take, eat. This is my body, the fullness of my life broken open and shared with you." Likewise, after the meal, Jesus took a cup, and having given thanks, he said to his disciples, "Take, drink of this. This is the cup of a new covenant, sealed in my life's blood. Do this in remembrance of me." Eternal God, pour out your Holy Spirit upon us and upon these gifts of bread and the fruit of the vine, that through Christ's presence we may become a beacon of holy light, a source of joy, and a witness for peace. Amen. Beloved people, let us share this holy meal. And let us give thanks. Gracious God, you feed us in ways both simple and unknowable. We give you thanks that you feed us body and spirit with your presence, your grace, and the gift of your beloved Jesus. Amen. I believe it's time for music. Let us hear from the massed choir.
Creation.
beloved brothers and sisters, siblings, if you are weary, feel no shame. Instead, simply turn to the one who loves you beyond imagination and ask for renewal, ask for blessing. For the one who created us promises to be with us always. May the love of God, the grace of Jesus Christ, and the fellowship, companionship of the Holy Spirit be with us all, now and forever. Amen. May God bless you and keep you. May God's face shine upon you and be gracious to you. May God look upon you with kindness and give you peace. Amen and amen.